Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tash if you're new here. Today's video we are going to be trying to assist myself with this reading slump that I have. I have had this reading slump for maybe 3 weeks now. As you can probably tell, I've not been uploading as regularly, but I have still been filming. The reason being is I have read maybe 2 books over the last 3 weeks. They both are for separate vlogs, so I do have 2 vlogs on the go, but they are just at a standstill and I can't get my momentum back for reading. I've tried audiobooks. One is an audiobook that I'm currently listening to, and I have been slowly listening to it on my walks. But again, it's not piquing me in the same way that I'm wanting to continue the audiobook when I go home, so it's just been like a slow listen. Nothing to do with the book, it's purely I get back and I'm just mentally exhausted. I also have been reading a book physically, and I started 3 books at this stage, and I'm talking maybe 1 or 2 pages from every book. I've really been trying to push through with forcing myself to actually read the book, but then I end up finding myself just going straight on my phone and I'm back on TikTok or I'm back scrolling somewhere, and I'm just wasting so much time. The more I'm online, the more anxious I'm getting, and I'm like, I need to get back into my reading space because that's where I find I disassociate and I feel a lot better because I spend maybe 1 or 2 hours of each day just not thinking. I'm purely focused on the book. And I want to get back to that. I enjoy it. I love it. That's exactly what I want to do. So I need to figure out a way to get back into this routine. So I think what I'm going to do is this December, I've set myself a very ambitious TBR with this slump that I have. And I'm just going to see if I can read at least a couple of books from this, and I'm hoping because I've chosen such a wide variety of books that I can sort of just jump between all of the books while I've got this vlog going. And I'm just going to pray and hope that one of these books will actually get me out of this. One book that I've got high hopes for is the second book in the series for Spark of the Everflame. I don't remember what the name of this series is actually called. Oh, it's the Kindred Curse series, that's right. I don't know how I forgot that because I say it so much throughout the books. I want to start there. I'm thinking I might try and read a bit now because it is a series that I was really enjoying, and I'm sort of like in the heat of it all now, so maybe hopefully because it will be so action-packed I'll probably just like get pulled in. Otherwise, I do have hopes for the Love Light Farm series because I enjoyed the final book in the series, but I obviously am now going back to the first book since I've started at the last book. Don't ask me, it's a long story. So I'm sort of hoping that Love Light Farms will bring me back into that small town feeling, because usually that's like where my home is. I love a small town romance, so I'm hoping that could be a possibility as well. I've also got a spicy book, so I'm feeling, because I've been reading lots of books that aren't that spicy, maybe that's what I need to like feel alive again. I don't know. So I've got Heated Rivalry. Otherwise, I've also got a very small short book, should I say, and it is I Who Have Never Known Man, which is up here on my shelf too. I've got a few other books obviously on my TBR which I'm sort of keeping my eye on, but these are the ones that I'm sort of thinking they're probably what I'm going to reach for first. So let's try and go for these and see if one of these can at least bring me out of this slump. Probably going to start with Glow of the Everflame just because I have such high hopes for it, and then hopefully after this vlog I can go back to my other vlogs and then we can pump out those last final books, so then I can upload all of my reading vlogs for you guys straight away, because there's literally maybe 1 or 2 books left for both of them. Step 1 is definitely going to have to be myself putting on a 1-hour timer and just forcing myself to sit still for an hour with my Kindle, because I don't actually have a physical book, and hopefully the Kindle will draw me in a little bit as well, and I can hopefully get through maybe like the first 5%. We will see. Oh, there's music. Well, I think that went pretty well. I literally don't want to stop. I want to continue reading. Maybe it's been the books, I don't know. But it's also this series. I started Spark of the Everflame, yeah, probably 3 weeks ago, and it's all I've been thinking about. Maybe my whole reading slump has been because of Spark of the Everflame. This second book is picking up exactly where it's taken off. What I have liked about what the author's done is she's actually quite literally repeated what has happened in the last chapter of the last book by reverbalizing everything, which I do enjoy, but I also wish it just picked up from there straight away because I already knew what was happening. But I mean, it's probably good for like a refresh, just sort of reminding the reader what happened last book. So that was kind of a nice start. I feel like I've got some mascara in my eye. And I also think the plot is really drawing me in because where it ended in the last book, it just has a lot to go from and there's so much to work with. There are so many new characters that we're getting to meet. There's a lot of new personalities that have been brought into this new book, so that's very exciting, and we're getting to know a completely different world now. So it's just a lot of information and new information which we're continually getting, and I really enjoy learning about this world. So it's not like a boring thing for me, which I think is probably why that hour went so quickly. But yeah, I'm only like, I think less than 5% in because it is 600 and something pages, the second book. And like, I didn't realize that until I'd started, and then I checked down below and I was like, oh, right. Yeah, you've been in a slump and then you've just decided to jump into a 600-page book. Anyway, obviously it's working. I'm very happy. I'm going to continue reading this book. I feel less anxious. So that's like all I'm asking for. Hey besties, I fear that I have started this vlog not realizing that all I needed was the perfect book to get me out of a slump, and this book is that. I continued reading last night and through this morning as well, and I haven't stopped. I'm now currently at page 202. For someone who was struggling to read this many pages in weeks, going to reading it within 12 hours, it was the book, I fear. It could have been the book. Maybe I wasn't the problem. Maybe it was the book I was reading. It wasn't what I needed at that time. So I'm at chapter 17. We've just got to, it's not really a spoiler because I won't say what it's for or who it's for, but we're currently at the funeral. For anyone who's read the first book, I'm sure you can sort of guess whose funeral that is. It's not that hard to figure out, but basically we are at the funeral. So far, the banter between all of the characters with the new friends that DM is making with the Descended, I'm loving all of the interactions. Like, this is the kind of banter that I was sort of hoping for in book one. I think that that's what was holding back. Like, it has the found family aspect, even though there is still family members involved in this book, but the way that everyone interacts with each other, like they treat each other like their family, you know, like cousins. Anyone who's read the book, you'll know what I mean. I feel like I'm one of the cousins. I will say that this is feeling more like a 5-star read for me, and that is crazy to say. Like, we're 200 pages in. I haven't wanted to stop. Like, I want to continue reading right now. I want to continue going, but I have other things I need to do. Wow. This is really, really good. With the slow burn, like, this is, we're starting from scratch again. Like, this is the slow burn of slow burns. For me, a book, that's what I need. I need something that's, you're yearning for a single touch to the hand when they're walking past, or he's walking her up the stairs and he puts his hand on her back. Like, those small moments are the books that I love, and that's what I'm getting from this. You know how I said I was getting out of this slump and that everything was going so great? It's got to nighttime and it's about 8:30 and I've not read anything today. I've been scrolling on TikTok once again and I've caught myself in the act, and I'm gonna force myself to read. So I'm gonna put a timer on now for an hour and hopefully I'll get something done tonight. I wanted to check in with you guys because I tried to read last night. I think I got one chapter past where I was. From my memory, I think I'm up to chapter 6, so I didn't get very far at all. I ended up putting on The Holiday and I kept like putting it on the background, but I kept tuning in. By the end of it, I think I got like an hour and I was fully hooked and I couldn't stop watching. So I honestly think I'm the problem. Like, it's not even like the books, like it's actually me. I'm gonna force myself to read now because I do have some time. So I thought if I vlog, I've got to hold myself accountable. Let's see. You're gonna have to bear with me because I have terrible lighting at the moment. This is the best it's gonna get for now. We've officially finished Glow of the Everflame, which means that we are on to book 3 for the Kindred Curse series, which I don't know if I'm going to start just yet. I feel like I'm going to hold off purely because of how much I loved this book. It had the right plot, and in terms of character growth. I really enjoyed that as well. With Diane, we got to see her really grow as a character, which is what I really enjoyed the most. She is a messy character. Like, some people are either going to absolutely despise her because of how indecisive and how back and forth she is, or you're just going to go along for the ride because of how much fun the story is. And I do love a messy character. I think it becomes like a little bit more realistic in the sense because most people aren't 100% on everything that they're doing, and sometimes it does work for characters, and sometimes I do want to read a character that has no idea what they're doing, or they've just been thrown into this life-changing situation and they're making all the wrong decisions because it is stressful. I feel like some people when they read this may not like her, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed her as a character, and I think it was very realistic. I will say the last few chapters were a complete roller coaster. I was all over the place. There was just things getting thrown out left field here and there. Obviously, like, I sort of knew where the plot was going towards that ending, but I didn't expect it in the way that it happened, if that makes sense. What I did enjoy the most is the way that the story was told and how like unique the process was for DM and how she got to that point. So that was something that I really, really enjoyed. I don't really want to explain much further in that because it will give away some of the plot and like obviously what happened in book one if you've not read the series. It was fast paced in the way that things were moving. Overall, like a really easy read in my eyes. And I will say that it's probably more of an easier fantasy to read. I wouldn't say that this is very like complex, but there is some complex world building within there, just not, a high fantasy. I will say though, we did get more politics and conflicts within the world in Glow of the Everflame than we did the Spark of the Everflame, so I did enjoy that a lot more. What captured me the most is the slow burn from book one and now going into book two, and again pushing into book three because it's just continuing. I think that that's what's hooking me. I love like the pain of it all, the pain of the slow burn, knowing that it's not quite there yet. I'm a sucker for it. Like, I want to be tortured. And that's what this series is giving me. So I'm very, very happy with where it's going. I'm definitely going to give Glow of the Everflame a 5-star, and I can't wait to go into book three. I'm so, so excited. I feel like I've just made up this book slump before this book, and I swear if this book puts me into another book slump, I will be very, very sad. Because how do I go from having a book slump to then finding a 5-star read? Like, it's... As you saw, I did start Love Light Farms on my Kindle last night. Yesterday evening as well, this did arrive in the post, so I finally got my hands on the hard copy of Love Light Farms. I'm just trying to figure out where I am. Chapter 4. But I stopped midway through chapter last night, so I'm pretty like fresh into this book. I didn't realize it was only about just over 300 pages, so it's like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders having a really short book. I keep choosing long books for some reason. Like, most of the books I've started recently have been 400, 500 pages plus. Glow of the Everflame was 650 pages, which I've got that on order at the moment. I'm currently working at Waterstones as the Christmas help, which is so much fun. I love it because it is like a part-time thing, so I can still do this, but also I get to go and see all the books and hang around books all day, be a bookseller, like my dream job. Anyway, that was off track, but basically Love Light Farms is the first book in the... what's the series? I'm pretty sure it's the Inglewood series. I've actually read Business Casual, which I realized is quite a little bit more of a chunkier book than the first book. I loved this. I think I gave it 4 stars from my memory. I really wanted to start this in Christmas, obviously being a Christmas book, so that's why I've started it this month. I'm liking it so far. I think her full name is Estella, but everyone calls her Stella, and we've got Luca, and they've been best friends for a very long time. Stella has a Christmas farm, and it is like all of the Christmas trees that she sells seasonally, but she also does lots of other things seasonally. She's only owned it for the last year. She's trying to, get things moving and get some marketing out the way. So she's she's applied for this lady to come and do a review of her farm, come stay there and get some promotion out through her audience that she has. And in the application that she sent to her, she said that this was a farm that she's bought and loved and told her whole story, but she's also tried to give it a bit of a romance aspect by saying that she's done it with her boyfriend. That's purely because most of the time when she watches her Hallmark movies, which she loves, she's always noticed that there's always 2 people, a partner, the Christmas farms, all of that. So now she's asking her best friend Luca to fake date with her while the lady comes and stays at their farm in their cottage. That's like where I'm up to at the moment. Luca's is slowly getting introduced. I'm getting to know a little bit about why he comes into town, because he's technically from the big city, so he only comes in every now and then to see his mum, who also lives in town, and she's also close. Sorry, Stella's also close with his mum. So there is a bit of a close-knit relationship between them already, which is good because that means there's a good foundation for friends to lovers here. And I'm kind of hoping that the romance aspect isn't a little too, what's the word? I'm just going to go with insta-lovey, but I'm hoping that it doesn't progress too quickly, because so far right now I can tell both people love each other already, and that's like my first introduction to both of them. Like, they both want that, but they're also scared, and that's where Stella stands, and I'm assuming that's where Luke is standing. He's probably on the I'm gonna hold off until she says something because I don't want to ruin the friendship, which I do love. But I also love when there is a friendship when they don't see the love, and then all of a sudden it like clicks into place and they realize it. But I feel like this is going to be one of those ones where they're very aware of their feelings, and that's not a problem. I'm very happy to continue reading. But yeah, so far cute. The writing's still the same. I can tell there's a little bit of a difference between the first and the last book, so I'm hoping as the books go on in the series we can see her writing get better and better, and maybe more of the relationship dynamics between all of the characters grows a little bit more, because you could really feel in the last book how much, I don't know, there was a lot more connection in the last book than I noticed, and that's why I fell in love with the series, and I was like, I need to go and read all of the books. That's where I'm at for this book, so I'm going to continue reading this today. I'm sure I'll be getting it done within like the next day or so. And I feel like with my reading slump now, it feels non-existent, because right now I'm like, oh, reading, fun. Maybe I just needed a little bit of a romance, and maybe to read some books that I knew that I really wanted to read, rather than forcing myself to read these random books. But anyway, I'm going to continue on with the hour-long stretches that I've been doing with the timer for this book, and hopefully that will continue my momentum with getting through the book. Get a timer up on my laptop, made myself a peppermint tea and a Vegemite sandwich. Yes, I'm Australian. Yes, I do eat Vegemite sandwiches. Yes, they're perfect. Do not judge me. 1 hour Christmas timer. Page 110 it says on Kindle, but what I've noticed is the pages aren't really the same as the book, so I'm probably page 100, I would say. So I'm almost 100 pages in, and I'm gonna say it is moving a little bit fast paced. I'm also kind of frustrated with the characters, but I also sort of understand the plot and why the characters are the way they are, but I'm also like, I don't think that this is going to be my favorite book from the series. But I've also heard that books 2 and 3 and 4 are everyone's favorites, depending who you speak to. So I'm just assuming this is probably like a good book, but not the best book, if you know what I mean. I think I might put on another timer for another hour and just continue reading. I mean, I've got nothing else to do today, so I'm like, I might as well put in the work and not go on TikTok. I don't have high hopes of this being a 5-star read. It's definitely between probably the 3 to 4-star at the moment, but who knows, things could change. I've just finished Love Light Farms like maybe an hour ago, and oh my god, look at my hair. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give my full review probably tomorrow for it, because I want to sit with my rating for a bit, because I'm stuck between 2 ratings. So we'll see how I feel by tomorrow. But I have started the final book for this vlog. I think because I struggled with Love Light Farms, even though it was a romance, and I don't mean like struggled with the story, I mean like just in general, like picking up the book, like my self energy towards reading, I'm gonna try a spicier book. Love Light Farms was already like quite spicy, not overly spicy, but it had like some spice in there. But I'm gonna go for a book that's just all smart. I think maybe that's what I need to reset my brain. So I did have Heated Rivalries by Rachel Reed on my TBR, which I've got up just above me here. I think that this might be the trick. It is a hockey sports romance. They are rivals, obviously, from the title, and I'm currently at chapter 3. I'm listening to the audiobook as well as also reading on the Kindle app on my phone, because I think sometimes doing like a hybrid read with the audio and physically reading, it can like prompt you to read more and like enjoy the book, because like you're not actually needing to focus on the reading. I'm listening in it and being fed the information while just like following along. Sometimes as well, when I'm also just listening to the audiobook, I'll zone out because I'm just not like putting my energy into it. So if I'm getting it from like sight and hearing, I think if both of those senses really line up to make me focus a bit more. So I'm gonna do that, and hopefully once I'm maybe like 10 chapters in, I should be at least hooked enough to do one or the other without needing to have lots of breaks between each chapter. I don't know. This is the theory inside my head that I'm going with, so we'll actually see if it works. The 1 hour timers that I've been doing throughout this vlog, they've actually been helping me to focus and sit down. I think having the timer there makes me like lock in because I can see a number and I can see it going down. I'm not wasting time and I can just like properly focus on the reading, and I know I'm setting myself that goal. If I struggle with this hybrid reading, I might go back to that. I'm at chapter 5 now, and the book is everything that I said it was. We are already 15% in and something's happened. And I think that the entire book will be the same plot throughout. So literally, they are on rival teams. There's been time jumps by roughly a year so far between each chapter. Prologue, I think, is them a few years on, like 6 years later. I've had a bit of a sneak peek into what's to come. Yeah, there's not really like much else going on. Like there's no real driving plot, there's no real issue that we've got besides them having a rivalry outside of their teams, but they've slowly got this attraction to each other. Rosanov is Russian and Shane Hollander, he is an American dude having his either bi awakening or gay awakening. I'm not really too sure yet. I'll check in with you guys once I've read some more. I think it's been 2 days since I last checked in with you, and I have finished Heated Rivalries. As crazy as this is, especially with being in a slump, I basically finished 80% of that book on the first night after I last checked in with you. So I stayed up to maybe like 11 or 12 p.m. and then I finished it the next day, like later in the afternoon. The only thing I have to comment is, yes, it's a spicy book. Yes, it is very fast paced and there is no real slow burn at all. The rivalry is almost, in my opinion, non-existent. Like, yes, there was a rivalry between the teams, but like emotionally and like actually personally between the two of them, I did not feel the rivalry at all. So I wouldn't say that this is much of a rivalries thing. It's more like our teams hate each other, so we're supposed to hate each other. But I didn't actually feel like the tension of their rivalry. They were just sort of closed off with each other, but they were still like interested. And obviously, because as well of how fast paced it was, when I ended up getting to the point of the last like 20%, which I read the following day, by that point they were basically already in a relationship, and it was just about like a few finalizing topics that they needed to close off for the book. And I really didn't care for that last 20%. Like, it was sort of a drag for me to read that. So that's probably my only comment. Like, this book is purely spice. Like, it is a smutty book. It was definitely a fun time, that's for sure. Like, I would definitely recommend someone to read this book, but I wouldn't say that this is like an all-time favorite of mine, so I'm probably going to stick with the 3-star for that. Going back to Glow of the Everflame, because I didn't end up giving my final thoughts for that because I went straight into this book. Wait, no, it wasn't Glow of the Everflame, it was Lullaby Farms. I am probably going to give this book as well a 3-star rating. I didn't get the same love for the story as what I did from the last book in the series. Going back to the first book in the series, I can definitely see the improvement in her writing. Worlds apart their writing, and especially like just the connection between the characters. It was like a friends to lovers, and they had this already formed relationship, which was great because it was a shorter story than the other one, but I didn't feel the connection and love as much myself. There was not that same atmosphere of the small town as it is towards the end, and I guess that just comes with time, with, you know, all of the friendships and relationships forming. But even myself going into the final book and not knowing anything about this entire small town, and I fell in love with the series just from that, you can sort of tell like the disconnect in the first book because it wasn't as much of that small town feeling. Just like the found family aspect of everyone in the town, it didn't really have that. So yeah, but I'm still going to continue with the series because I just want to see what happens now. I mean, I've read the last book, I might as well just finish it.